All right.
Right.
Well, we're rolling, man. So,
What's up, bro?
Mike Barker, what's up, man?
What's going
How
on,
are
sir?
you?
I'm well. How are
Welcome
you?
to the podcast.
Thank you, sir, for
Yeah,
having me, man.
thanks for coming in, brother.
Absolutely. Man.
Yeah, it's still up and run. It's still up and coming. It's not. I don't really have too much going on, but I always enjoy having people on here and learning from people, and
Right, man.
So,
I think that's wise, dude. Me and my kid were talking about starting a podcast, man. So we talk about music all the time. So like a Bridging the Gap thing where he talks about, his artists at his age and who he likes and versus the artists I like and debut, some music from the new kids and from the older generation every Friday. So I think we might start doing that, man.
yeah, I think that's a great idea, man. I mean, because today, like, there's a market for everything.
Absolutely.
And people just want content.
That's it, man.
Yeah. And
so. Because a lot of, even if you were to, you be an artist and you go to a label, these labels are not spending money on marketing anymore and public relations. They want you to become established, you know what I mean? Have your stuff, like, on point already, So, yeah, man, it's wise, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's talking about labels. I mean, an artist is a moneymaker, right?
Hell yeah.
It's a product to the label, and then the label takes the massive cut.
Exactly, dude. I mean, but it all depends on, the deal that you have. If you want distribution through them, if you want to, distribute yourself, so, a lot of deals are different now. They have 360 deals where they're going to get a cut of your touring and merch as well. So it just depends, man.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me a little bit about yourself, like your background. What's your experience with entertainment, music? Sounds like you know a little bit about music and how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike Barker, ENT Guru is what they call me, the entertainment guru, and that's because I've been working in the entertainment business for about 16 years now. Born and raised in San Diego, moved to LA about almost 20 years ago, and started my career in the entertainment business as a talent escort for Country Entertainment. So I would do media and press events for Grammy Awards, American Music Awards, BET, Billboard Awards, a lot of private events and parties as well. LAPD golf tournament, LAPD celebrity poker tournament as well. So book talent, hired escorts eventually, and then from there, once I kind of started managing these press events, it went to Universal Music Group, and then iHeartMedia, doing production for radio there, and was a publicist for a while, Latoya Jackson's company with Juliet and Crescendo Public Relations, which is one of our test publicists as well. So I was working with them, and I'm currently at Sony Music Publishing now as an assistant manager for Creative Sync licensing. And then prior to that, I was with Motion Picture Licensing Corporation doing movie licensing. So still doing licensing, just now on the music side. So, any promotions that you see on ABC or CBS or any trailers that you may see, for instance, like the Spider-Man movie, the new trailer, I'm responsible for putting music in that content.
Wow. Yeah. That's pretty amazing stuff, man. I mean, from the way that you describe it, it sounds pretty high level as far as in the entertainment industry.
I didn't realize that it was because I had, at the age of 20, I was working with, the Kelly Rowlands and Beyonce's and Janet Jacksons and Ushers and stuff like that. And so that to me was like, okay, that's that peak, right? Everybody wants to be around those artists, And so I was always fine being that guy behind the scenes because I just knew it couldn't get any better than the interaction with the artist. And so I'm glad that I did have that at such a young age because it does make me feel extra special and, official when you're dealing with, your clients are ABC and Disney and CBS and, your people reaching out to you for putting music in for the Super Bowl coming up, you know what I mean? So it's a nice evolution, I would have to say.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, that's really. I mean, when you start throwing names out like these massive names, I mean, it sounds like a place where anybody within the industry wants to be.
Absolutely, man, and you're right about that. And because every award show that I worked and every award show that still happens backstage, a day or two prior before the award show airs, there's always press and there's always the media and there's all the radio stations from across the nation publicizing the show. And so in trade, those artists that are either participating in the show or artists that are wanting to promote a project, they're promoting their project backstage as well. And so that room, which they call the radio remote media and press room, is the hottest room in every event because one, you have all the radio stations from across the nation in one fucking room, and then at the same time you're just gonna see every artist that you either are you loving or legendary or you want to work with if you are artists, or you see your producers back there, you got your DJ Khaled's and your Prince Montana's and Alicia Keys, and you know what I mean? It's a wide range of artists, so I am blessed and fortunate, I would say, that probably have worked with every artist that I could ever imagine or dream of, to be honest with you. So
Yeah, that's really amazing, man. Just I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about the culture of entertainment and kind of I know you probably sign NDAs and stuff, but is there kind of like a behind the scenes you can give to allow people to understand kind of like the aspect of entertainment that they don't see, through media and social media and this and that, like stuff that, artists and stuff won't talk about, maybe, what I mean? Like maybe a dark side or like, like maybe a struggle within entertainment and people that work in it.
Just to touch on and signing NDAs, I have not signed a lot of NDAs in my career, which I'm surprised, to be honest with you. And I think that's because, one, and you think I would because everybody can take their phone out now and be recording stuff and put it on social media, and then that kind of spoils surprises. But I think that once you work in entertainment, you just kind of know better, you know what I mean, in terms of the culture. But I would say that things that a lot of people are probably ashamed to talk about or want to keep low key is the amount of talent that radio stations or media outlets deny, or they don't know about them, and the hustle that their publicists and their managers or the talent escort has to go through to convince, program directors or producers or DJs to say, hey, just talk to my artist for 2 minutes, you know what I mean? And sometimes, dude, when I had to do that, it was a bargaining thing, bro, and luckily I had, relationships with all these DJs for such a long time that they trusted me, and I would say, hey, man, do me a favor, take this artist from me, talk to him for a few minutes, and I'll bring you, French Montana, whatever it may be. And so I think at that point, they feel a little embarrassed as a talent because even if I'm trying to do that whole bargaining and negotiation thing, I'm doing it when the talent is not around, you know what I mean? Because then when the talent comes around, they want to feel like big bosses, you know what I mean? And sometimes, your DJs and your media outlets don't even know who the hell these artists are. And so being that person to pitch an artist, you got to have their bio there. You have to know what they about. You have to know their songs in the top 10 and what what's the word? I'm sorry. What charts they're on, whether it's the Hot 100 or it's the R&B or pop charts, you know what I mean? So you have to know your artist, you know what I mean? You have to have some good selling points.
Yeah, definitely. So does that struggle of like getting an artist up or essentially running your business, your side of the business, is it come like to like you mentioned like bargaining, and does it come down to like money? Is it like money related, or is it like what am I gonna get in return?
It's definitely what can I get in return, not necessarily always the money. If it is money, it's unknown to me, you know what I mean? To be honest with you, because I'm sure a lot of these negotiations and contracts are, dealt with or sorted out ahead of time, And I'm working the special events as well. So it is a lot of like, hey, you need to do this because you're under contract, when it comes to the outlet, And so, for instance, like a huge sponsor for a lot of these award shows is Coca-Cola, right? And then Coca-Cola will take one of their brands like Sprite and have, all merch around and stuff like that. And, each DJ has to mention, I think, Sprite so many amount of times that entire weekend. And so they know their obligations. And so that's why sometimes I'm assuming that they're like, listen, this is what I do have power with in terms of what content I can have on my show. And I understand sometimes, like, it's, you want to pitch an R&B artist to a hip hop station, well, we're not going to play their music, you know what I mean? And it doesn't make sense for us to talk to them, But if you're showcasing, an award show and a special event, everybody's gonna want to hear everybody that's involved, bro. Let's be honest with you. You know what I mean? So, but I'm sensitive to the whole situation, and I'm nice about it, and because my whole thing is you can't get bees without honey. You gotta be
Okay.
nice. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a level of like social skill, right? You have to know, the people, the market essentially, who you're talking to,
Oh yeah, man.
right? And then
Yeah.
like you were saying, your artists and all this and that, and
Yeah, man.
yeah, that's really fascinating to me. I was just always kind of intrigued with this idea of entertainment and like the level that is involved to where people don't actually see. Nobody knows. People want to become artists or managers or this and that, but they don't know how much. When you hear the word competition,
Oh
you
yeah.
don't realize how much actually goes into it, right? Until you probably
Mhm.
get involved.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the artists understand that your competition is not necessarily the next artist that has the same sound as you. It's really yourself, you know what I mean? Because are you pitching yourself? Are you going above and beyond to expose whatever project that you're trying to promote? Are you having new content on a regular basis? Like we were just discussing earlier, it's content, content, content. That's what it's all about. You have to stay in the top of people's brains because our attention span is only so many characters, as many characters there is on Twitter, or how many characters you can type in on Instagram. That's how much our attention span is. And so I do miss the days in the music where your artist would disappear for a few years and you'd be surprised and excited to see them. And what I was mentioning, I think I was talking to who was another podcast I was on just a few days ago, and I said I miss the days where artists would not give us everything in that first album. You know what I mean? Like when Janet Jackson would come out, like them first two albums Janet Jackson came out with, that was a blockbuster. One came out in 1986, one came out in 1989. We didn't see Janet Jackson's body and midriff, and she wasn't a sex symbol until '93. So that made us hella excited. And when we got artists to me like Lil Nas X, which I'm a fan of Lil Nas X, but when you're now a pregnant woman for promotion, okay, well, what are you going to do that's going to interest us or shock us the next time around? You know what I mean? So to me, they just don't make it about the music and the content. Or it's also that, and don't get me wrong, I'm a fan. Like, I call myself like the middle child, like J. Cole said, you know what I mean? I'm born in '85, so we are traditionalist somewhat, but at the same time, I'm still so young where I am sometimes influenced by the young kids that come out, you know what I mean? And my kid's 13, so his music influences me as well. But I just wish that sometimes they would just reserve themselves and think about their marketing long term.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioned like feeling like the middle child.
Mm-hmm.
I think I kind of thought about that. I think it's kind of the point that people get to generationally where it's kind of mid-range. You're kind of stuck. It's kind of like society is going through this evolution from old traditions to like now you have the younger, hipper kids coming out, and generations change.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so I think that's where we get stuck in this kind of limbo of like, we're kind of mature now. We're not young kids anymore,
Yeah.
and then we're becoming accustomed to these new trends, totally different from what we're used to.
Absolutely. I understand now when I was a kid and my mom was like, "What is this crap that you listening to?" You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
to her it sounded a mess. But I have to say, the artists that came out in the '90s for us are legendary, and they really laid the blueprint out for artists, what artists are doing today. Because that was the decade that the music industry was its most profitable, and I feel like it was its most creative. After the disco era came the '80s, and it was just the '70s and '80s where they were just lost and confused and they didn't know what was going on. And disco got, canceled is what they call it now, you know what I mean? And so they went into rock, you know what I mean? And so don't get me wrong, the rock artists are definitely kicked the door down, which really established the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But it's something about hip hop and R&B in the '90s that really just, to me, influenced the pop music of today. You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for R&B, I don't think that hip hop would have turned just such a pop phenomenon it is now.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that, man. I mean, I definitely, you got the hip hop artists from the 80s and 90s. I mean, all the way, I mean, you can definitely see a vast distinction between the music and then I was going to talk about evolution, but like in the 2000s, hip hop started kind of rolling into this kind of like newer kind of poppy. I mean, you still had like heavy bass and heavy like like hits, you know, like Ludacris and stuff. But then it started, and then you had Drake come out in 2009. And that's what I think that, you know, that's kind of when Drake came out and he had this spin on hip hop, like I'd say like kind of hardcore gangster hip hop, you know, into this kind of now poppy Justin Bieber kind of, you know. And yeah, definitely R&B. I mean, you had guys like Justin Timberlake, you know, and then working with producers like Timbaland. And that, so now you have a cross reference right there, and now you're doing. And then Pharrell also, you know, got involved.
Right. There's no rules to the game. That's what I feel like Drake did. That's the door he kicked down, because if we recall, you know, Ja Rule was hella criticized by 50 Cent for singing, right? And so now it's uncommon if you don't hear a hip hop artist singing at some point on his track, and we don't criticize it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and it's okay to be wearing skinny jeans, and it's okay to have your hair bleached if you're a hip hop artist now, which is cool to me, because like I'm a big fan of pop music. I'm a big fan of R&B music. I'm a big fan of hip hop and rap. You know what I mean? And you know, I'll put a J. Cole track on and then turn around and put on a Britney Spears track. You know what I mean? Because it's really about the music for me, to be honest with you, and the production behind it. You know, like I'm not hating on no white girl singing a bomb track if the song sound bomb. Let's be 100. You know what I mean? But do I think that there are very few artists that will be legends that come out now? Absolutely. You can probably count on one hand the top 5 artists that are going to be eligible for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or will make it in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you know, when they're eligible in the next 15, 20 years, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think that has to do with technology, really. The fact that we have cell phones, we have social media, and it really just opened the door to a wave of artists, essentially, which is really just a bunch of kids recording in their mom's basement, right?
And half of it sound like, I hate to say it, I ain't hating on them young artists.
Dude, I totally agree with you. The fucking half of the music that comes out today is complete trash. But that's why it's diminishing this like, you know, fucking chase for glory. You know, you don't have to be a fucking platinum selling artist anymore to have your name out there, or to be fucking filling, you know, venues across the country. You know?
Yep. I mean, what's so crazy is, you know, I'm a J. Cole, Kendrick, Drake fan for sure, because those are the last hip hop rappers that are still young and still have good lyrical content. You know what I mean? And then you got R&B artists, and I'm not hating on these artists, but when you have people like Brett Faiyaz, which is an R&B singer, my son loves Brett Faiyaz, and I'm just like, to me, he sounds like he toned up low key. I'm just like, his voice is just not all that to me. And I'm like, son, like I was listening to Usher every single day. Like, how is he not influenced off of like a proper run? You know what I mean? Like, it ain't no rules of the game. They like, hey man, this note sound good, and I'm gonna put this note in right here. I'm just like, you know, auto-tune just got y'all very comfortable.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. It's just like there's so much shit coming out. I think the last greatest R&B singer of our generation, probably of our time, is The Weeknd. I think because he sings, I mean, he's consistent with what he does.
Got you.
And, you know, he lays, and then he's kind of evolving his music to like this poppy kind of, if you listen to his latest, like really big hits, I mean, it's like, you got like 70s and 80s, like, funk.
Influence for sure.
Yeah.
I do love it. I love that new sound, off the new album, what is it, Dawn FM, that first single that came out with, and I was just like, that production is
from The Weeknd?
Yeah, that production is so bomb. And I was even telling my son, like, I miss the days when they would just let the beat ride, the track ride. You know what I mean? Like, a song would be 4 minutes, and the last 30 seconds, you would just be knocking and hearing that bass and that 808s. Like, I miss them days. You know what I mean? Like, the 2-minute song nowadays, to me, is like, y'all just want us to play it over and over and over again so you get a lot of streams, to me.
For sure, absolutely. I mean, you know, like I said, it's getting saturated. Like the industry, as far as music, I feel has gotten so saturated, and you know, you have, I mean, with everything, you have artists which are horrible lyricists. The lyrics are completely recycled. Like you can put 10 songs in a row, and literally every song from different artists has the same fucking lyrics.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, that's because, you know, a lot of artists that you and I grew up on, they was really going through some shit, bro. You know what I mean? You was either going through some financial struggles, or you was going through your daddy being, a victim of the crack epidemic. You know what I mean? Or your little brother being a crack baby, whatever it may be. So you was really going through some shit. These kids nowadays, to me, aren't going through severe issues like we were, which is a good thing. Ain't nothing wrong with it to me. That means we progress. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that you can't touch on other issues that's going on in the world, right? Like expand your mind to me, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I totally agree. I think, I mean, like Mac Miller. Mac Miller came from like a suburb, I think in PA, Pennsylvania. And he was a pretty established artist, and he was able to like throw lyrics and kind of like have this kind of hard, gritty, rap kind of image. But like he's not rapping about like drugs and guns and shit. I mean, obviously that's not where it came from, but it just shows that you don't have to, he was just kind of like having a good time and smoking weed and stuff.
Bro. And you know what else is sad to me too is like, for Christmas I bought my kid a record player, vinyl, and one of the two biggest gifts he wanted was a Juice WRLD t-shirt and an XXXTentacion vinyl. And I'm just like, it's so sad how both of them artists were so young, had the potential to be huge artists, and just died so young, man. That's what surprises me, is they died so young. It's off of drugs and stupidity and shit,
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, those are both excellent fucking artists, and they were so young, and it's very unfortunate that they died. I mean, I don't know the details about why they died. I mean, if you watched the Juice WRLD, not so much, I don't know, but Tentacion, I mean, he was, like a very like didn't give a fuck about anything, which is fine. But we don't know like. I mean, I don't know his background, he was involved with and stuff. But if you listen to his music, like his music was it was like love music, man. It was about like females and like breaking his heart and like suicide, and like I love that shit. And like obviously a lot of other people did. But it's just like when you listen to his music and try to tie in like probably his life that most people didn't know about, and then it's like why he passed so young. It's very unfortunate. But then you guys got like 6ix9ine that are actively like put away for fucking snitching on his gang or whatever. And then I'm sorry, but I hate the kid's music. I mean, it's fucking horrible.
You know what? I got somewhat of a love-hate relationship with 6ix9ine. I don't necessarily respect him in terms of like the longevity he could possibly have. But the couple tracks he came out with was some bangers. Now, did he have to get Nicki for it? Yeah, he had to get Nicki for the bangers. But they were some bangers to me. I ain't gonna lie. You know what I mean? Was he talking about shit? Nah, not really. Was the melodies cool? Yeah, it was bomb. Was the grit in his voice cool? Yeah, it was bomb. So there's definitely certain levels that I'm just not hating on the track because I don't like the artist or the background behind it. You know what I mean? Like I'm definitely I'm biased like that.
Dude, I know exactly what you mean. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna like say that I don't like some of the stuff he comes out with. But I'm not gonna like he's not on my playlist. Only because like I personally feel like he is kind of like a wave rider. Like he had Nicki, and I mean, listen, I'm gonna say something like I do respect the fact that someone can have a work ethic enough to become like essentially like a worldwide sensation. I mean, you can't deny someone's work ethic.
Right.
So, I gotta give him that. But like listening to the kid's interviews and stuff, I mean, the kid just sounds ignorant as fuck.
Did you watch his documentary as well?
No, fuck no. I'm not gonna watch the documentary because I'm not a fan of him.
Well, if you watch his documentary, you'll become even less of a fan.
Oh well, okay, well, so that doesn't surprise me at all. But that's probably, and that's why I don't, it's not a shocker that I don't want to watch it.
Right.
But the thing is, aside from everything, like you do have to give certain artists respect for the fact that they've made it to where they have, I mean, to each their own. It's a free market. People make music. People put out music. There is a market for essentially everything, as we've seen. So I did read your bio that you sent me. So you've been in the industry. You've been in the entertainment industry for, is it 19 years?
16.
16 years. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be 16 years this February.
So you've been doing this for a long time.
Since I was 20 years old, man. I moved to LA to be a high school counselor.
How old are you now?
I'm 36.
You're 36. You moved here when you were 20 years old.
I moved when I was 18. Got into business when I was 20.
Where are you from originally?
San Diego, California.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How have you seen? Is there any distinction with the way the industry has evolved in the last 16 years?
Yeah.
From your perspective?
Yeah. One, the marketing dollars and the PR dollars are not available or as much as they used to. The A&Rs are not as many, right?
What's A&R?
Artist and repertoire, so a position within a label that would help you find the right producers or find that right sound or to find the writers, you know what I mean? And there's definitely not as many publicists and marketing gurus working the label because now we got social media. So, these social media outlets allow you to create sponsored ads if you want to. These social media outlets allow you to become this artist overnight, right? And YouTube and SoundCloud do the same thing as well. So it's obviously the accessibility that we have now that's created this very saturated industry. At the same time, it's created just you can do marketing at your own house. You know what I mean? To be honest with you, know what I mean? Like I'm booking my own stuff when I'm promoting my book. You know what I mean? And I'm hiring an intern obviously to do a lot of the footwork for me sometimes. But you can do it yourself, man. And I got a friend. I was considering hiring a publicist, and so I seeked her out, and we talked about the money and everything like that, and I just didn't find it to be worth it right now for me to invest that. Have I now created a great friendship with her? She's like a sister, Jessica Dupree, really bomb publicist. Hell yeah, dude, because she's a hustler, you know what I mean? But you got to think about where you're trying to be in your career, what's your next steps. Do you want to kick down that next door? And I had said to myself, by 36, 37, I want to be working for a label, and I want to just kind of like fall back a little bit more behind the scenes and not necessarily have to do the whole, showing everybody what I did and how bomb I was and get this clout chasing. I ain't gonna do that no more. I feel.
So you mentioned you have a book. Talk a little bit about your book.
Yeah. So the first edition of my book, 4 Strategies to Personal Branding and Marketing Yourself, came out last February with #1 on Amazon bestselling and for business.
Pretty big.
Science. Yes. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
And that was I published it myself, wrote everything, seeked out my own editor, seeked out my own graphic designer for design, seeked out my own branding person to create my logo for me, I did all the footwork myself, and I did that because I had to do that work to show that the principles that I'm talking about in that book actually work, And so those 4 strategies I'm speaking of are the first strategy being, finding your purpose. The number 2 strategy is knowing the new stuff in your industry, the new big hitters in your industry. Number 3 being staying relevant for a significant amount of time. And number 4 being building your network, but really building your network where, I'm not getting a whole bunch of phone numbers in my phone, but actually utilizing these phone numbers and these email addresses, knowing how to check in, knowing how to communicate so you're not having that awkward communication when you really don't have shit to talk about with the person, you know what I mean? And so I did that because I wrote the book because that's who I had to be to stay within the industry, dude. You know what I mean? Like a lot of shit ain't gonna just get put in your lap. You gotta seek out a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So yeah.
So is your book essentially about allowing people to kind of take a step on their own and market themselves and be themselves? From what aspect? From every, like an artist, a producer, or every aspect?
Yeah, so I mean, the book does speak to, your veterans in the industry, your newbies in the industry, somebody that may be, mid-level that wants to take a trade to a whole new industry, your student who needs to understand why internships are so important in undergraduate studies, your graduate student where they're like, is it worth it for me to be getting a graduate degree? It's for all those type of professionals, And the second edition of the book, again, 4 Strategies to Personal Branding and Marketing Yourself, will be coming out this next month in February. And I just had to expand on it more where I'm putting in a SWOT analysis, you know what I mean, and making you look at your brand. And I'm having a Q&A with branding expert Philip Vanderhusen, and he's done branding for all the Tide products, P&G, and was doing branding for Old Navy as well, and so now he's an entrepreneur, and I talk about entrepreneurship as well and why it's at 55% in the country because of the pandemic, but also because, and this is Philip quoting as well, that corporate America don't give a fuck about you. You know what I mean? You are just a number to them. You are very replaceable, and so you had to look at it as like, well, let me not be that replaceable. How do I enhance my skills to make myself marketable and unique and authentic, you know what I mean? So yeah, I touch on all that, bro. And that's because, being a black man in the industry, it's not easy, dude. I'm 6'2", I'm 200 pounds, you know what I mean? I got a deep voice, I'm cool. But at the same time, people can be intimidated. So to have a demeanor where it's not as intimidating, I had to be taught that, So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can only imagine, like your own struggle going through that, being part of the industry and stuff. Do you think that there's a lot of politics that get into play within the industry among people?
Oh, you have no idea, man. Absolutely, there's politics, and I think the biggest politics is, people want to hire people that look like them. You know, people want to hire people that are not as educated as them, so they're not hiring their competition. And I think that that's going to keep the business so stagnant. It's not going to allow people to grow, And then I also think, and it's still kind of early to determine if this is dangerous or not, but the newer generation, they love to job hop. They're always hopping for the next big paycheck, right? Which is amazing because I ain't got the balls to be doing that all the time, but at the same time, like, stability is not as important in corporate America or the industry like it used to be. Like, I'm looking at my mother who has worked for Kaiser for 23 years, and before that did nails for 20 years. You know what I mean? That's where I'm looking at it. And so, hell yeah, do I want to be 70 years old, retirement from Sony? I'd love to. Would it be wise? I don't know. It depends. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it just comes down to what people want,
Sure.
on an individual level.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I definitely think that, in terms of this entrepreneur world that we're building here, I think it's definitely gonna change the next coming generations here. Yeah. When you talk about corporate America and essentially the fact that they really don't give a shit about you, the small guy, whatever, they're workers essentially. Do you think there's gonna be a massive impact as the future goes here with entrepreneurship and people building their own brands and kind of stepping away from this corporate kind of setting?
I see it kind of being in three different segments. I see it being that a lot of the jobs that now could be automated are going to wean people out, right? And then you have a lot of the entrepreneurs who are going to go out there and start their own business. But do these entrepreneurs get the same benefits as they would get if they were working for corporate America, right? Not really. So they're going to have the people that are like the struggle going back and forth, you know what I mean? Because who wants to really pay for insurance out of their own pocket, right? And so I think it's going to be just like that, where it's just going to be everybody's going to try to kind of keep having their hand in a little bit of everything, and it's just all about survival, dude.
I want to kind of touch on massive artists, kind of like P. Diddy. The guy's been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
Is he a corporation in itself? His name and his brands and all that.
Absolutely.
So he has people within working for him. Now, is he part of corporate America?
He is, because he owns Ciroc, right? So I forgot who's the big owner of Ciroc, but Diddy is a brand. You know what I mean? When Diddy changed his name to Love Brother or Brother Love, I forgot what he called it.
I didn't even know that.
Right. It wasn't as big of an impact when he went from Puff Daddy to P Diddy to Diddy, right? But we know that he changed his name. You know what I mean? And that's
you do. I don't.
It, right? But we know that that's part of his brand. That's part of his core. You know what I mean? And Ciroc is part of his brand now. You know what I mean? Being that party guy. You know what I mean? And being seen with Jay-Z all the time as his right-hand man is part of that as well, And I think the reason why Diddy really hasn't had to depend on the music industry so much is probably because the profits he's making from Ciroc, you know what I mean? But at the same time, every Ciroc marketing campaign you seen an Ashanti or you seen a French Montana, so he's still kind of keeping in the music within it as well. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that the music that's used in those commercials are, you know, licensed and created by him, so he has the rights to everything too. You know, but that Diddy is definitely a brand. And I just read that and I didn't even know this, that Sean John, his clothing label, I guess the owner of that brand went bankrupt. And so he was able to buy back his name. And so now he's going to rebrand Sean John again. And I'm sure he'll be back in Macy's again as well. So Diddy could do it all. I'm ready for the next Diddy album. That's what I want. You know?
Well, that's the thing. I was gonna tell you. I mean, despite his business ventures, I mean, me and I would consider myself the general public.
Mhm.
I think most people still look at him as a music mogul.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
obviously the guy's successful. But in relation to when you talk about corporate America and they don't care about their people, would you put like Diddy and Jay-Z within that circle?
That's a good question, man. I think it probably just depends on the level of employee that we're talking about, you know, because what's so funny is the other day I was saying to myself, I was like, damn, Rock Nation is so big now, and everybody's running to Rock Nation for management help and, you know, all that. Like, is it going to be really as effective? Does Jay-Z really know what's going on every single day with every single artist that's happening here? Is every single artist really being, you know, given opportunities to really expand their brand, you know? But then you look at artists like Meg Thee Stallion, who, if it wasn't for Rock Nation, you wouldn't have seen Meg in that Popeyes commercial and that KFC commercial she did, and all the other sponsorships that she got as well. And you know, being part of big management companies and labels like that allow Live Nation to take you seriously. You get your own tour. It allows the Recording Academy to take you seriously. You get the votes for a Grammy. You know what I mean? That's why Meg got 3 Grammys. You know what I mean? Let's be honest, because that influence. You know what I mean? Because she's on a small label. Even though she's big as hell, she signed that same deal. And that same deal is with a very small label, you know what I mean? And so if she just had to depend on them only to really market her and get her out there, I don't think it would be as big, you know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And
What I want to know is how the hell she graduated from school, all the work she doing. Like, she's so busy, she out all the time. Like, when was you doing schoolwork, okay? She just got her damn college degree. And I'm just like, how the hell did you have time for that? So,
she just graduated?
She just graduated from Texas Southern University, dude.
Okay.
I'm just like, damn.
That's pretty impressive because, you know, I'm not going to lie, I'm not a fan of her music at all. I don't like her music at all.
Oh, my God.
I'm a fan of Nicki Minaj.
I love Nicki.
That's the only, as of today, and the like latest female, it's very minimal, but the female, you know, talent that's come out in the last maybe couple decades.
You like Cardi?
I'm not a fan of Cardi only because I think, like you said, her brand has been built. And but aside from that, her music, I don't think it's that great. I don't think she's a talented artist. I think she kind of came up, when she came out with, what's that song, Kodak Black? What's that song that she got famous on?
Oh, Bodak Yellow.
Bodak Yellow, okay, well, it's one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But that song was a hot song. It is a hot song.
Yeah.
And I'll fucking play that song in my car. Not gonna lie. Now, she has attitude when she gets on a mic, and she can fucking spit her lyrics, and like I said, she has that fucking attitude, and it sounds great. If you listen to her album to me personally is trash. I mean, she can't sing. You can't say she can sing. I don't think. And whoever told her she can, whoever is sitting there saying, "Yeah, girl, you good." No, come on, bro. She cannot hit a note to save her life. She shouldn't be doing that, in my personal opinion. But that's the thing. You have people that are behind that and like, yeah, she's great. She's a fucking awesome artist. Personally, I don't. I think her lyrics are minimalistic. I think a 3-year-old can probably write those lyrics. Most of her songs on her album. The thing is, listen, I'm not anybody special. You're
the consumer. You are special.
I'm the consumer. Well, yeah, in that term. So, yeah, for me, trust me, I've listened to her album. I didn't like it. I thought it was not that great. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is subjective. And really, even though I'm just one person with one opinion, she is a massive artist. Her name is big. You know, she can fucking fill an arena and this and that. So regardless of my opinion or people that might agree or whatever with that, that's the thing. Like I was talking earlier, she does have a work ethic, right? She puts fucking numbers. She puts ass in seats, this and that, whatever. I don't like her personality. I think it's overdone.
Did you watch Love and Hip Hop? Are you Love and Hip Hop man?
No. Come on, dude. I'm a white boy from Gurnee, Illinois, dude.
I know many white boys that watch Love and Hip Hop.
No, but I did have roommates when I first moved out here that they were females, a couple black females from Chicago, so they would watch it, and I would just be like, what is this shit? But that's reality TV.
I love reality TV.
Reality TV sells shit, just like Kim, the Kardashians. People watch it. They're fucking huge, man. But it's like literally nothing. There's zero content in that valuable. Like, what are they fucking the Kardashians teaching people?
Yeah, how to look beautiful.
How to fucking do their nails? Like, how to get their fucking extensions to look good?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the consumer, when you talk about the consumer is very minimalistic in that sense. I mean, the consumers don't necessarily look for extreme value. They just want their mind to be stimulated. They want to criticize. They want to criticize the people on screen, regardless of who it is. That's why society's attracted to drama, extreme drama, regardless of what it is. I was thinking about the other day. We have like these celebrities. We glorify celebrities. But at this, it's kind of like a love-hate, because as much as people sit there and glorify their celebrities and their like icons and stuff, you kind of like rooting for them to fail at the same time. Because if like a story comes out about an artist like fucking up or some type of scandal, people love that shit.
Right.
People love scandals. They love bashing somebody, especially if that person is like beloved by a lot of people. Like imagine if a scandal came out about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. The guy's fucking huge. Yeah. Imagine if today or tomorrow a scandal comes out and people are gonna freak. His fucking followers are probably going to go up. I mean,
Well, my thing is this. I think that it depends on the scandal. It depends on the artist. It depends on whether they're a movie star or whether they're a musician, right? And so I'm a big fan of, I hate to say this, publicity stunts. I think they're necessary sometimes. Do I think they happen way too often now and they look so thirsty trying to get them? Yes. And so that leads me to say that, Janet Jackson's Super Bowl Nipplegate was the best publicity stunt ever.
I just hate how much flack Justin Timberlake got for that.
He should have gotten flack.
You think so?
But he got flack because he did not support Janet the way that he should have. And he just looked like a straight kiss ass, when he got on that stage at the Grammys and apologized for now the third time. Or when he got in front of those cameras and was like, I don't need that type of publicity, and he just completely threw her under the bus, right?
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. You mean so after the fact he was like trying to like kind of like separate himself from it and say like I don't know, but he was completely part of it. He should have owned it. He should have owned it.
He could have just not have said anything at all.
No, that's true.
Like Janet released a apology, and she didn't talk about it again until she sat down with Oprah. And they talk about it no more after that. Like, you don't owe the bloggers and the media an answer. You don't.
This is true, and that's why I think it's complete shit that she had to even apologize for it in the beginning. Why was there an apology needed? For what? This is entertainment. You know what I mean?
Right, but I talk about that in my book too in terms of damage control and what's the easiest way for you to get back on track in terms of your brand and forgiveness is on the shit that you fucked up on, apologize, move on, but have changed behavior. You know what I mean? If Janet came out again and exposed a titty, would that change behavior be like, would we take her like seriously? Would we be like, come on now, Janet, you don't already apologize for this. Is that gonna happen? Hell no, it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? But this is the easiest way to do it. That's it. You apologize for it, you move on, that's it. And the thing about it is, America, we're very forgiving. You know what I mean? You have to apologize to us, but we're very forgiving. And I just think it was the best thing for her to do. I think that if it wasn't for Super Bowl, people my kids' age would know who the hell Janet Jackson is, and that's why she did it. You know what I mean?
Well, and I just want to get I'm trying to get to the root of what was she apologizing for?
For offending people that saw her breast at the halftime show. You know,
People got offended for seeing a boob on a halftime show.
550,000 people sent complaints to the FCC. Those complaints went all the way up to the Supreme Court. It took 10 years for that to get settled.
I mean, I just think that's absolutely ridiculous, and because of the fact that like the consumer, it was completely hideous. I mean, people are absolutely out of their fucking minds. You with all the shit that you have today, especially, but like, people are fucking crazy. People are weird. They have weird habits. Not to mention porn. There's massive access to pornography.
Right.
And like, if anybody tries to make this statement like, oh, it's national television, you got kids watching the TV and stuff. It's like, really? Walk your kid outside on the street. What do you see on the street? You know what I mean? Especially in massively densely populated areas.
Right.
So it's like
Hollywood right outside. Yeah.
So it's like you can't tell me that a woman like showing her one breast on national television for the sake of entertainment, it's fucking entertainment, is like horrendous in a way, more so than anything you see on television. There's parents that tell their kids they can't watch TV, right? That's why you have censorship on television, the internet, the cell phone. There's so much censorship for the sake of protecting your child.
Well, a lot of that censorship can happen till after the Super Bowl happened. You have to understand that. Like, one, I can understand if maybe it was Janet took her bra off and she was just dancing on stage with her breast out. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
But it was a split second. It was less than a second. I think it was 1/10 of a second or something, right? And so my thing is though, like, to me, it needed to happen because one, in terms of the longevity of her career, I hate to say, not that she would have had a long career, but Janet Jackson is still running on that same publicity stunt that happened almost 20 years ago now. People are still talking about that. You know what I mean? Like, Justin Timberlake felt pressure to come out and apologize to Janet Jackson 2 years ago, okay, off of something that happened in 2004, right? And so if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have YouTube. YouTube was created right after that. If it wasn't for that, DVR wouldn't have happened because TiVo blew up then. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have that 7-second delay on cable television that we have now, you know what I mean? And so did it change some things? Yes. And if it wasn't for her, would Rihanna felt comfortable having her breast out in the DJ Khaled video or having her breast out or on the red carpet of a charity event? No. And it's because, like, she kicked down that door of saying, like, listen, it's just a titty.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's my point, too. And then you have artists like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion that are literally shaking their ass and like fucking half naked on stage at an award show, and people love it, and that's okay. And that's okay. And I just think like people in the world are just complete fucking hypocrites. People are so hypocritical. Yeah, and I mean it's just like people love to. I think that's why we have so much conflict, and people are able to be swayed one way or the other because. Essentially, it comes down to it's not what was right or wrong. It's the fact that you can create an audience and you can create like people. People are narcissists, so they're gonna if they don't like something right now, they're gonna complain about it.
And I just think it was Janet. It was a little bit of revenge for feeling disrespected to me because you have to keep in mind that Super Bowl halftime show wasn't just Janet and Justin Timberlake. You had Kid Rock, you had P. Diddy, you had Nelly. All these artists performed. Janet Jackson has 27 top 10 hits, and she performs 2 songs. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, okay, y'all want to have all these men running this show, and y'all want to have Justin Timberlake come out and do the encore. I bet you won't remember him. I bet you remember me.
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely agree with that, and I don't know. I think it was awesome. And I mean, it's just sad that it had to be perceived in such a negative way.
It was so strategic, bro. You have to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, Janet Jackson then started dating Jermaine Dupri, right? Jermaine Dupri during that time was the hottest producer off the Mariah Carey album and Usher's Confessions, right? He was also the president of Virgin Records at the time, which she still owed 2 more albums to, right? So she's like, yes, okay, I may be blackballed and be looked down upon, but my boyfriend is the president of this label right now, you know what I mean? And my black folks are going to support me if the white community don't want to support me, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna get that pass because I got Jermaine Dupri on my side, right? That's one thing, okay? Then it was also about, like, I think Jenna was tired. Jenna was like, listen, I'm on tour between 89 and we in 2004 now. I'm now 38. I know that my music is not going to resonate with the new kids. I know ageism is going to play a role into getting my song on the radio. And so instead of saying, oh, Janet Jackson's so old now, she don't connect with the audience. No, she was just blackballed because of Super Bowl. You know what I mean? That's how we look at it. And she's still getting the sympathy card now. to this day. It was the best publicity stunt ever. It was long term.
Yeah, I mean, when you break it down like that, it kind of puts things in perspective. But yeah, it's just crazy how that works. In terms of like when you talk about like women versus men, race, how do you think that really it affects? I mean, we don't have a lot of female artists as far as like hip hop, today.
I mean, it's a lot more now than what we got in the 90s. In the 90s, we had Foxy and Lil' Kim.
Yeah, we have Eve.
Yeah,
we had a couple.
We have a couple. We were around Missy Elliott.
Yeah. I think we had more in the 90s and early 2000s than I feel like,
Yeah, I feel like it's almost about the same. You only got your 4 and 5 hot artists, right? At the time. But I've always been a fan of the female artists. Like I love the female R&B artists, the female hip hop artists, the female pop artists, and it's just because it's just way more theatrical with them. You know what I mean? You're gonna get a show. You know what I mean? You're gonna get some.
Well, they become a sex symbol. I mean, I think like we were talking about. When you put Cardi and Megan Thee Stallion on stage, I mean, it's complete sex. Especially
they
and even
fucking
the stage. They're fucking the stage. And all the props up there. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we all know sex sells. We all know that's, even when you look at the male audience, I mean, the male artists, R&B in the early 2000s, there's nothing but fucking R. Kelly and fucking Ray J and Usher taking their shirts off.
Oh, absolutely.
In their fucking videos dancing in the rain and shit.
I think that shit's hot, man.
Fuck yeah, no, I do too. It's just, I think that, it's definitely, I mean, you're talking about publicity stunts, it's kind of like a way to really boost their name.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like such an old term, but sex sells for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
I loved seeing Janet, the hands over her breast on that cover, and I loved seeing Cardi's cover of her single Press where she's literally butt naked. You know what I mean? Like, I love that because it's like, it's about accepting your body. And, a few years ago, I had saw some YouTube video and they asked all these 50-year-olds, what's the one biggest thing that you regretted in your younger age that you wish that you didn't? And somebody was like, loving my body sooner. And so now it's, allow people to love their body sooner and allow people to not be criticized for getting liposuction or whatever procedures they want to. And then it allows, artists like Lizzo to come out and start doing something like booty shorts if you want to, because it's, we are in the day and age right now where like people should do what the hell they want to as long as it's respecting another individual and not be criticized for it,
That's true, but unfortunately that's not the case because everything and everybody gets criticized. And that's what I talk about, like this. You talk about hypocrisy, like Adele when she lost a ton of weight and she came on, people criticized her for losing weight.
Well, what I hated was that you lost this weight now, and so is that supposed to make your music sound better? That's my thing about it.
I don't think it had anything to do with
it.
Music.
Yeah,
exactly.
No,
exactly, right. But I mean, it's just the fact that like people completely she's a music artist. Like, why are you talking about her fucking people should be happy for the fact that she got healthy and
she can feel a lot better. I would say that.
Fuck yeah, she does. She's smoking hot. But I mean, that just goes against, goes with this culture of like, we do live in a culture where everything's almost anti-culture, but I think overdone. I think it's overdone. Now you have influencers on Instagram and stuff influencing to be fat.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, this is active going on right now. You have women primarily, that are overweight, and I mean, there's that one model. She's a white female model now, XXL model. She's got tattoos all over the place.
Oh, no, you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, it's clear that she's obese. Mm-hmm. It's very clear, and like people praise her for being fat. She's like going, you know what I mean? And it's like there is a lot there that people don't really understand.
I think it's two separate issues. It's like, yes, let's praise you for loving your body and accepting who you are, right? Because what if you have a problem losing weight? What if you got a thyroid issue, you can't lose the weight? But I definitely you shouldn't praise the unhealthy behavior. So if I saw you eating McDonald's every single day, you know what I mean, and you was that kind of chick, then I'm like, okay, well, if that's not wise, you don't want to live long to me.
Well, and I've seen influencers on social media, Instagram mainly, where they do put up a post about them, like in their, these women, like they're in their underwear and they're like, I'm gonna eat what I want today because I'm beautiful and I love myself. The thing is, if you're overweight and you're feeding yourself shit, you don't love
You
yourself.
don't, yeah. That's how I
And
feel.
you might be like in your 20s, maybe
Mhm.
even your 30s,
Mhm.
where your immune system is like fucking chugging along and you're okay now, but
Mhm.
like 20, 30 years later, you're gonna be like suffering from a heart
Right,
attack and
exactly.
diabetes and all that shit.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
thing. It's just and then we've come to this place now when you criticize somebody like that, now you're fucking like you're like fucking something's wrong with you.
Cancel culture.
Yeah, cancel
Yeah,
culture.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like what the fuck is going
Yeah,
on?
yeah. I would say that today people are a lot more sensitive than what they used to be, and we can't have an opinion on any culture or anybody at all. Comedians can't just come out and talk shit like they used to now. You know what I mean? It's way too like, oh, don't offend this person, don't offend this person. And but I'm that parent too that where like I don't want my kid walking around here like acting like you got a Japanese like accent and making fake Japanese and speaking Spanish because you see some black people around like or Mexican people around or Hispanic around, excuse me. You know what I mean? So you do want to be, aware and sensitive to other cultures, but it's like chill the fuck out
It's
sometimes,
it,
dude.
do you think that it's hindering to the entertainment industry? Do you think we're going downhill in a way where it's going to hinder like essentially like a success?
No, I don't think it's going to hinder. I think what it's going to do is it's going to allow people to feel comfortable to do whatever the fuck they want to, and that's why we get shitty music
Yeah,
now.
yeah, and then you kind of have to wither out what's good and what's not, and then
Mm-hmm.
whoever it makes the bigger numbers,
Mm-hmm.
then
And
more
you
power to them.
and you gotta understand too, like these artists' fan base, they got a big say. You know what I mean? So if we were to come out and bash Beyonce, Beehive would be on us hardcore. You know what I mean? And so that's why you got people like Keisha Cole, who never really kind of recovered in terms of her career because she said one thing bad about Beyonce, and then everybody was like blacklisting her, blackballed her. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Yeah, well,
that's
then
super
there's just
sensitive.
like Drake and Meek Mill. I think that beef was total horseshit, but
Absolutely.
which oftentimes it is, and people take it so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think it completely destroyed Meek Mill's career. I don't think he ever
Dude,
recovered. Personally, I don't think he ever recovered from that.
I don't think that it really made that much of an impact, whether good or bad, to me. I know that his last album was his highest peaking album. I know that last single off the album was highest peaking. So um, in terms of
His
the
last album
numbers,
was the most successful album
yeah, it was
that he's
successful.
ever produced. How many
Yeah,
albums does he have? Do
I
you
think
know?
he's on number 4 now. I think he's
Yeah.
number 4. And so but does the influence of him going to jail and Beyonce and Jay Z fighting for him, did that play a role in it too? Absolutely, it did.
Well, yeah. I mean, anytime you got major names like that, you're gonna
Attention is up.
have some type of influence for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure. I would hate the
Um,
pressure. That's what I would hate.
to what? To live up to those names?
Yeah, to sustain.
Yeah,
To sustain is hard. You know what I mean?
for
And
sure.
I think that in my book, I talk about a conversation DJ Khaled and Kelly Rowland had on his podcast, and Kelly was talking about one upping yourself, and I talk about that in my book about okay, you think you reached this peak, well now what do you do next? How do you one up yourself? How do you know what I mean? And that's hard. That pressure is hard.
Going back to your book, you mentioned like one of the is it the four virtues, four
I'm
values,
sorry, poor strategies.
four strategies, and you
Bad,
say
yeah.
knowing the new
The new
and then
new.
being updated.
Yeah, no, no,
Do
no,
you,
no. Mm-hmm.
do you think that it kind of it's necessary to know your history and know what was before you in order to move forward and be successful in that way? Or do you think that kind of being ignorant of what has been done and moving forward and kind of doing your thing is like kind of ignorance is bliss type thing?
Um, you
You understand
know,
what I'm saying?
absolutely. And I think somebody like me, I'm like, I want to know what was happening before digital, right? Obviously, I do know. You know what I mean? So why were cassettes so hot, and why do we go to CDs, and why are vinyl selling so well now, and why are CDs selling more now this day and age than they have in the past, right? And I want to know all that, so I'll read up all that. And I just think it one makes you sound a lot more intelligent, and two, it makes you creatively aware because everything is going to repeat itself. So you may have to know that history to create something else that's going to happen 10 years from now, right? But do a lot of kids feel that way now? Absolutely not. a lot of kids are very ignorant as to where things came from, So I'm sure a lot of kids are over here like, oh yeah, vinyl is new, records are just new now. Everybody's getting a record player, and not realizing that your grandfather had a record player in the garage and he was playing vinyls 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think it is kind of needed to know where things came from. But do you touch on the old stuff in the history as much? No. And I say that because when I was working at Universal Music Group, I think it's like 2012, 2013, I had got introduced to Spotify, right? And I loved the fact that, I could change a song whenever I want to, right? Well, it had me go and listen to all old songs that I grew up with, that CDs are scratched and lost and all that. And I was telling my boss at the time, like, damn, I love how I can just go listen to all my old shit. And she was like, yeah, I just don't really have the time to be listening to the old stuff because I got to know all the new stuff. So you need to have more of your time spent knowing what's going on in the new than you do the old, or the present, to be honest with you. Because if you want to be that person that's going to create, that's going to influence, that's going to, inform people or predict what the future may be and sound knowledgeable, you got to know the new.
Okay. So you think it's more relevant to be what's going on?
Absolutely. I'm always intrigued with the future. I'm always thinking about what's going to happen 2025, where I'm going to be in 2025, what the clothes going to be like. I'll buy some clothes and I'll wear that shit twice or 3 times because I'm just like, dude, okay, what's new now? What's hot now? You know what I mean? What colors fly now? And that's just, it's crazy, but that's just how it's always been, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, so, touching on the future, what's next for you? You just wrote a book. So
yeah, my big thing right now is, dude, and one, because this book was supposed to be out, honestly, last April. And I just took time with it because I just wanted it to be better than what my first edition was. And then I had negotiations with Long Beach State University, so it will be a course guide in the communication studies class in the fall of 2022. So to make sure all the ducks were in a row, right? And at that point, I was still in movie licensing, and I was like, okay, it's time to leave movie licensing and music licensing. And I had to put my personal projects on hold and put Sony at the forefront to make sure that I stayed with Sony and I was kicking ass, you know what I mean? And so that's my focus right now. I want to get this book out. I want to make sure it's in the classroom. And I just want to kind of like hibernate and go away and just saturate myself with all my Sony projects, to be honest with you, man. I still have, my scholarship foundation, the Carlos Raymer Scholarship Foundation, where we award graduating seniors that are going to college money every year up to $1,000, and so I'll still have that. So I'm still doing with my alma mater. I'll be actually at a University of Redlands next month doing a TED Talk as well about my book, and they're having me part of the inauguration ceremony for the new president as well. So I'll be representing Cal State Long Beach at University of Redlands procession for that, and so this is what I asked for, man. My mom was like, "This, you got what you asked for. You want to work with Sony. You're working at Sony now." And I said that by 36, 37, I just want to relax, bro. You know what I mean? That's it. And I'll do a new edition of my book every other couple of years because I'll just always be researching and just get my kid through high school and get him into college, man. That's my focus, bro.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's so good to know that you sounds like you're accomplishing a lot. So that's great. And then you just wrote the book. Congratulations on the book, man. I think that's amazing.
Thank you, brother.
I love that. It's made to be put out there to influence people to better themselves and give themselves a more independent kind of like mindset.
Because I didn't have that when I was in college,
Right.
And I didn't have people coming to tell you, other than the fact that I think I took it's called a Communication 200 class, which is Gateway to Communication, which teaches you what you can do with your college degree, right? And so I just wanted somebody to tell these kids, like, this is how you should act, and this is how you should speak, and this is what happens if you fuck up, and this is why you should regard your resume on every position you're applying for, and this is why you should look at the job description to make sure that you have those skills. Like, I just wanted somebody to lay it out for me. You know what I mean? That's it. Because I've hired over maybe 400 to 500 talent escorts over my 16 years, and there's only 4 people I know that work in the industry now, including myself.
Wow.
And that's crazy because all these kids that come as a talent escort, they want to get in the industry, but they only got the hunger and they got the drive. They don't have the drive, and and they take that no and they run with that no, or they say, well, I just need to work over here at Louis Vuitton instead, and that's all. You know what I mean? And no, you can't think like that. I have a good friend of mine who came as a talent escort, and she's a concierge at Louis Vuitton right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not where she's gonna stop. You know what I mean? She's like about to work a gig at with a DJ for a radio station. She is taking headshots because she has potential to be a model until something sticks. It's like taking a whole bunch of noodles and throwing it on the wall, and whatever sticks is what you run with. You know?
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. That's great, man. I mean, you know, so I just love the, you know, the whole push forward for, you know, independence as far as, you know, people and kind of building off of what you kind of grew up in. So
Yeah, man.
so yeah, Mike, I appreciate you coming on the pod,
Thank you,
man.
sir.
Thank you so much for being
Appreciate
here.
that, bro. As soon as the book comes out, I'm gonna bring a book over for you, sign and give it to you, bro.
Thank you
So
so
I
much,
got you,
man.
bro.
Yeah, I love that. I'm
Hell
definitely
yeah,
gonna read it and get some more insight into your
Please
mind
do.
and what's going on
Yeah,
there.
man. Hell
Yeah.
dude. I want to get your mind too. I gotta know, understand this ET side of you. You know what I mean? Because I feel
Yeah,
like
you
you're a
know.
little the sci-fi, a little deep, and I can learn a lot.
It's
So
just a little bit,
nah,
but
Eric's a cool ass dude, bro, man. Eric, my good friend Edgar, and we just was like a couple of cantinas.
yeah,
Edgar,
Edgar, yeah, that's our bro, that's our contact right there. Yeah, hell yeah, man. I was actually thinking about having him on here, but I didn't know what we were gonna talk about. East Side Loco Gang.
I mean, you definitely, you know, that man's transition, bro. You know, this dude was representing West, and now this man is working at Top Hilton over in Chicago.
Dude,
so
I always gave it to dude. He graduated. I always talk about he graduated from college. I didn't. You know
right.
what I mean?
Hey,
So
bro.
it was good.
Hell yeah, bro.
But yeah, Mike, thanks so much again,
Hey,
man. I
always.
appreciate you.
Anytime, G.
All right.
All right.
Hell yeah, man. That was dope,
Yeah,
dude.
okay, cool. I'm happy
That
it
was a good conversation, dog. I love talking to you about that. Yeah, the entertainment.